Get a live stream going here. Ha! Okay. I'm almost scared to say, can you see me, anybody? Hey, Linda. Hope this works. I can't believe I just was doing the entire show and nobody could see me. Back again. Okay. Can anybody see me?
Yeah.
Okay. Does it seem like I'm live? Is it working? Oh my God. Unbelievable. Okay, now I just have to shake my super bad mood because I just did like the entire show in 15 minutes. And it was great. And I can't believe I was laughing and responding to everybody, and I could see myself, and it was recorded on YouTube, but for some reason it wasn't live. I guess that's called a glitch because it was showing me as live. I am so sorry. Good morning, everybody. Let's try again. I'll try to come out of it. That was super, super frustrating. I do not know why that happened, and I do not know why my shirt is so low. Okay. Good morning, Linda. It's great to see you. Happy Monday. Oh my God, it's Groundhog Day. Is it Groundhog Day? Because it feels like Groundhog Day. I can't believe I just did that. I did like 90% of the commentary. Jennifer, good to see you. I'm glad you're there. Crystal, good to see you. Good morning. I was reading all of your comments in the beginning post about the snow and how in Wisconsin it was really sunny and in parts of Canada it was really sunny. And I was saying we're having the most colossal blizzard here, like epic type deadly blizzard. And the kids are home. Joss came on. I'll see if she'll come back. She came on and showed a rug that one of the viewers, one of our buddies, sent us in the mail as a surprise. So I'll see if she'll come back in and do that. But we're having a colossal snowstorm here, and the kids are not allowed to take breaks. I'm not going to start, but they're not allowed to take breaks, from school anymore when it snows. So they're not having a snow day, but I'm having a break from makeup day. I'm having a super lay around day. I got busy with all the commentary for the show, so pardon my appearance, but I hope that you do enjoy this excellent Woolrich, remember Woolrich sweater with the sheep on it. I thought you'd like this as fiber, all fiber people that I found on eBay. So yeah, wow, that was a bit of a emotional roller coaster. I just could not believe that I wasn't live. Happy Monday, everybody. I am sorry. That was definitely a glitch. You were seeing something different than I was, and I was writing to you, which was like transcending time and space. I was reaching out, but you couldn't see my face or hear me. Penny, good to see you. Crystal, good to see you. Connie, there we go. That's right. Martha, great to see you. I am so sorry about this. I hope my mom can get back on. Lori, great to see you. Chrissy, Linda, Crystal, Jennifer, Beverly. No, Beverly, I know it wasn't you. It's always me, and I never know why. Something different each time. Linda, good morning. I am so sorry, everybody. Lisa, good morning. Sheila, good morning. Good, everybody's back on. Carol, good morning. How are you? Happy Monday. Lori, good morning. So we'll just wait and see if Helen David, my mom, comes back on. I hope she does. She was looking forward to it so much. I hope she makes it. Let's see. Martha, Linda. It is a cute sweater, right? It's a medium, which is like 2 sizes smaller than I am right now, but it is what it is. It's what they had. All right. I hope my mom can come back on. She was so excited to watch. And good morning in Calgary. Yeah, I thought it was pretty ironic this morning that we are getting killed with snow, because I was reading all your comments. In New England, where we are such powder puffs these days, we are not hardy Yankees anymore. And in Canada, it seems pretty stable and pretty okay, sunny in some places even. So that's kind of a turnaround. So, gosh, it's funny. I almost hate to repeat what I just said, but I've got to because none of it came through. I was just catching you up on the adventures of the weekend and the things that were going on. I'll see if Joss will come back in and do her segment again. But she was so excited to do the segment. She thought you were watching. We were reading the comments like idiots. I hope you all caught the show that I did on Friday night. It was a 2-hour tribute to Sharon Smith. Her astonishingly gorgeous and unique work as a rug hooking designer. We talked about her previous careers, a little bit about her life, some interesting stories from her close friends. I think it was a great episode. It was a bit of an emotional episode. And I'm really happy that we were able to do it, and I'm really grateful to all of the people who sent in their beautiful Sharon Smith designed rugs, which were either done or were being worked on, and so many great stories about people doing workshops with her. And I just think it was a great episode. My mom watched it twice, so that's usually a good sign. But Catherine, good to see you. Sorry about that. But I hope you catch that if you haven't seen it yet. And I was just saying, you know, the way that we have our Friday nights, we always have great long shows on Friday nights. And we are going to stick with our bingo once a month. But I just want to repeat, if you missed the announcement, I think on Friday I gave it, every other week I want to do a game night, because I just feel like our energy on Fridays is like, we're right there at the edge of the bridge. We're right at the weekend. We want to do this thing and interact. Penny. Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But I think every other week I'm going to do the trivia night. So I'm working on that now, where there will be a trivia game, not for money, just for funsies, where I have like a document that you can download either on the Facebook group, or I sent it to, or on the website Ribbon Candy Hooking. And it'll be a bunch of rugs. And in the rugs, I will be asking, when we look at the rugs, for example, number one, what designer is this? But more interesting than that, multiple choice, ABC. We're gonna have to do a redo because we weren't live. Can you believe it? We weren't live for all of that. We were talking and laughing with you all. We must be insane, right? We must be insane. But so we're going to do trivia. So I'm working on that card now. It's going to be a great thing that you can download or look at on the computer, switching back and forth between windows if you're better at that than me. But there'll be general knowledge questions. There'll be all kinds of questions, and there'll be rug hooking questions. But we'll be looking at a series of rugs, and I'll be asking you questions for each one. And the show will last about an hour and a half. So it'll be a good, fun night to get set up with a cocktail or your tea or whatever you want, and we can play together. So yeah, we'll do game night twice a week, because I think that's been real fun for us. The lady was out in the snow. Now let's do it again, Groundhog Day, right? Let's do it again. For those of you who are, I can't believe this. For those of you who are not on Facebook, and I know not everybody is on Facebook, one of our friends and viewers, Colleen, sent the most beautiful rug as a surprise and a gift to Jocelyn. Because Jocelyn, as you know, I think is a great horse lady, and she's a great rider, and she loves the big animals. I am terrified of them, but she loves them. Colleen sent this to us. If you're not on Facebook, I just want to show it because it is so pretty.
I think I have a cold now.
Oh, I think you probably do have, I think you are cold. You might not have a cold, but you are cold. But isn't this a gorgeous rug, Joss? I know you just did this a minute ago. Well, let's have energy again. This is such a gorgeous rug.
So you want me to tell the story?
Please tell the story again. I'll hold the rug up. You get in front of it and you tell the story that Colleen told us that made us laugh so hard.
So.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Don't touch anything. Just speak. Colleen, yep.
Once Colleen.
She was afraid of horses from being a little kid, right?
Yeah. A horse kicked her, I think.
We don't know. We don't know the specifics, but she was definitely scared of horses.
So then she was scared, so then she thought if she made a horse rug, it would fix her fear, but then she's even more scared of this horse. So she sent it to me. That's
funny. So yeah, she thought, being somebody who's always been scared of horses since she was a kid, that she bedazzled her sweatshirt too. That making a rug with a horse in it would cure her of her fear of horses. But she said she thought the horse came out so scary that it actually didn't work. And so she sent this gorgeous rug. We are the lucky ones, right? And Joss particularly loves the border on this rug. She loves it.
And I love the horse.
And the horse, but she remarked at what a beautiful border it is, and it is. It's just a beautiful composition, too, with the little trees on the hill.
Can I have a seat?
Yeah, you can have a seat. So Joss is putting this up in her room. Colleen, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was incredibly thoughtful and kind. We're putting it up in her room, but I just wanted to share it with you on Coffee Time in case you're not a Facebook person. Don't start with crazy stuff. So also, what else did I say? So the Klimt Kit came out. I think at least 10 people ordered it before February 1st. It's officially out now. Because of the snow, I won't be in the studio today, but I'll put all the kits together tomorrow. I'm finishing the Amish kit too, for those of you that ordered that one. But if you haven't seen it, you probably have. This is the Kiss by Klimt for Valentine's Day, February. This is a 12 by 12 square.
I'm excited for Valentine's Day.
I am too. So again, I did a video on this that you probably saw maybe over the weekend. It's the design for the rug is actually very minimal. It's just the central motif of the figures. And it'll be up to you. I'm really hoping that this is a really liberating kind of an experience for you if you are particularly a beginner. You can go crazy around the edges and go spiral, go corkscrew, go triangle, go rectangle, go boxy, go horizontal rain. Remember from the Sharon Smith, somebody did lines coming, broken lines coming down. It looked like rain falling. Absolutely beautiful. In this one, I put a box in the corner where I started to do my sign things again, like I used to do when I painted and stuff with a double D, but I don't think it's showing up good enough. So I'm going to have to get that done. So I'm just finishing this today. Lots of different fibers. So there's some metallics from Green Mountain Rug Store. I tried it from there this time. It was a little bit thinner and kind of nice. And lots of hand-dyed wool and yarn that I did, and then lots of these fancy ribbons and things that are in different places. So your kit is going to be, here, I got to sit down too, honey. Your kit is going to, I'm edgy, huh? Your kit is going to be absolutely overflowing full. It's a very, very big kit of fancy fibers. And if you don't go as much into the fancy fibers as I did in my example, who cares? You do it the way you want it. You're going to have a lot of material in your kit. So you make sure that you put it together in a way that you love it, okay? You can copy exactly what I did, or you can go out on a limb and do something completely different. Klimt it up, right? So that is now out. Oh, good. Joelle's on. Joan is on. Thank you so much, Joan. I really enjoyed that. That was like a less than 2-day project, even with the difficulty in the face. Oh, good. Mom got back on too. We saw my mom yesterday before the snow came. We got our test, so we knew that we were good to visit. And we spent the day in her giant, giant bed, and I got to do my hooking, and you and Teddy were playing video games, and it was just a nice, relaxing kind of a day, wasn't it? And then I wanted to show this other thing before I start getting into commentary. Okay. Yep. Don't touch the computer. I don't trust the computer is like this evil spirit. You know, this evil, active, vindictive spirit. So many people have written, "Hey, Louida." Is it Loida or Louida? I know you probably can't tell me that by writing phonetically, but I hope I'm saying it right. I hope one of those two is right. I'm very happy to see you. People have been writing and asking about this alphabet soup pattern since that episode of Cocktail Time where we did the alphabet. Remember the great Patty Yoder alphabet and the Nancy Thomas alphabets and rug hooking? And I brought out for that evening this kind of, not joke, but this kind of last minute thought of doing an alphabet soup and putting my 6-word memoir in it. And I said, animal crackers in my soup. And I started doing the background a little bit yesterday while I was at my mom's. I'm doing a sort of intricate plaid that you'll see evolve as I work on it today. Getting the soup in place. I got to get the rim on the bowl. But there's at least 3 patterns in it. And this kit, because people have been asking for it, which makes me feel real good, but also like a skunk that I haven't produced it yet, this kit will be available soon as a kit, as a pattern, as a PDF, but however you order it, it will come with a hand-drawn alphabet. So you can, if you want to, Edward Sands Frost style, cut out the little letters and put your words into the soup. Whatever store you have, put that into the soup. You're welcome to use my words, but if you have different words you'd like to use, you can cut out the little things with a razor blade and trace them directly with a Sharpie into the soup and hook your words in there, which I think would be really fun. Everybody will also get a bunch of animal cracker shapes. So if you don't want to do the words in the soup for alphabet soup and you'd rather do animal crackers in my soup, Shirley Temple style, like you said, then you can do either of those things. But that will be available shortly. So I talked about trivia. I talked about the 2 things. Am I caught up with everything I just said twice?
We talked about animal crackers.
I talked about animal crackers. All right, so let's get into some commentary. I'm not even going to look at the clock because I screwed it up so thoroughly. So this is going to be a Canada week for us, and I'm super excited to travel again. But in the meantime, I got an email yesterday from Denise, and Denise, you got me going down a crazy rabbit hole, and I love it when it happens. So I have to start this show following up with this idea that Denise gave me. It was a great lead, and it was interesting, and it was the kind of thing that I had to bite, and I couldn't pass up on. So Cheticamp is coming in the second part of this episode, and we're going to carry on with Cheticamp. Maud Lewis, I watched the movie Maudie last night, and man, that was emotional. I don't know if it was the best moment. Sometimes I have to be set up to watch things that are super emotional because they just break me down like insanely, disproportionately. But it was a great movie. So we're going to come to Maud Lewis this week. We're going to come to George Tremblay this week. We're going to do a lot with Cheticamp. We're going to be in Canada this week. I'm going to break out the 2 original blue nose patterns I have, and I'll be demonstrating using my blue nose hooker. Remember, because we had those great early episodes about Garrett blue nose. We're going to be in Canada for the rest of the week this week. But before we travel, let's go up to Maine for just a quick minute, because this is the kind of interesting thing that happens probably with all arts and crafts, but I feel like it happens a lot with rug hooking. You know, once in a while you get a fine art story. Like, remember that story a few years ago in Italy, how there were all of these paintings that were missing, you know, during the Second World War. There was a lot of stuff stolen and taken and hidden, and kind of like a variation on looting, people just taking stuff and putting it in other places. So all that lost art. And remember, there was that story that came out about this boy who was living with his mother who had a huge collection of original art, and he found out the police were closing in on him, and he brought it all to this pond or lake and put all of these ancient, valuable paintings, some of them by very revered painters, in the water, where they were then ruined because he was afraid of getting caught out. Once in a while in the fine art world, you get that kind of a story, and it usually turns into a book or a movie, like the girl with the pearl earring kind of thing. But I think you get it more with rug hooking, because we tend to find here and there, when we're lucky, if we're lucky, rugs. And then we open up the books that we have or the websites that we know, and we say, oh, it's a Pearl McGowan, or it's a Heritage, or it's a Priscilla, or it's this, or it's that, or it's a Garrett. And I feel like it happens more for us because things come into our hands, and it's sometimes so hard to tell just looking at it at a glance the age. The condition is not always a giveaway as to the age, because it can be in very bad condition, sitting in the sun, getting wet, being under furniture, being under pets. But it could also be that a very early rug is in glorious condition, and that's a bit confusing, but that also happens. So I feel like these mysteries for rug hookers happen more often than they do in other kinds of arts and crafts. Now, Denise sent me this great clip of this article from Rug Hooking Magazine, November, December 2012. If you have it, it's this one with the owls on the cover. And this is what it says. So again, we're in Maine right now, and then we're going to shoot right up to Cheticamp. Okay, we're going to cross the border. But let's just stick with me for a minute, because this is so interesting, I think. So this person wrote, it's Judy Taylor, which makes me wonder, is it Judy Taylor of the book that I just reviewed? It could be. It could well be. It could be another Judy Taylor. Judy Taylor in Auburn, Washington wrote, I think it is Judy Taylor because it's Little Rugs. So Judy Taylor, who wrote the book that we just looked at Preserving Older Rugs, wrote this like SOS message in Rug Hooking Magazine in this issue. Can you help? I'm researching the Priscilla Turner Rug Guild, a company which operated in the early 1900s, making hooked rugs. It is very difficult to track down any information from so long ago, so I'm hoping your readers will be able to fill in some blanks. The company operated out of Turner, Maine from 1922 to 1934, which means that some people were employed during the Great Depression making hooked rugs, which I find totally fascinating. Every Priscilla Turner rug has a distinctive label, which often includes the name of the hooker. So like McAdoo rugs, you need to see that label to know. I have a Turner rug that was hooked by Margaret Sampson. Who was Priscilla Turner? How many people were employed making her rugs? How many rugs were produced? How many designs were in the catalog? Where did you get the yarn? Perhaps your readers know relatives who may have worked there, or perhaps they own a Priscilla Turner rug. I would be very grateful for any help your readers can provide to shed light on this important chapter in the history of rug hooking. So that was written by Judy Taylor at littlehouserugs.com. Now this is something that comes up a lot. What is up with these Priscilla Turner rugs? Do you know? I mean, this is an older issue, 2012, of Rug Hooking Magazine. I found a little bit online, but not as much as you would think that I would find, considering we're talking about a 20th century company that must have employed a good number of people in a country where we all speak the language and can easily research, right? I could drive there. So all of this is curious. So I found a couple of articles that I just want to read parts of to you, paraphrase, because I thought they were super interesting. This one came out of, is that the one? No, let me show you the one I want to show you first. I had one that I thought was better. This one is the better one. So this is from 2008, 4 years before Judy wrote to Rug Hooking Magazine. This came off a website called wickedlocal.com. And this article says, an old hooked rug in good condition is worth about $2,000. That's quite a jump, isn't it? That's the title of the article. And I'm going to show you the rug that they're talking about in the article. This is the picture from the article. So this is the rug that they're talking about. So the article says, treasures in your attic question. I have enclosed a photo of a handmade rug that my grandmother recently gave to me. It's an oval, approximately 9 foot by 12, so that's extraordinary in itself. There are 2 labels on the rug. One is still readable, the other is not. The rug is in very good shape for its age. Can you tell me anything about the rug and its value? SP from Baldwinsville, New York. So the answer was, alarm bells go off in our heads when we read that something is in very good shape for its age. All too often what that means is that the object in question actually looks as if it has been disputed territory in at least 2 wars and at some point has been run over by a fast-moving truck. Ain't that the truth? Condition is very important in a 20th century hooked rug such as this one. So we spent a lot of time carefully examining your photograph to make sure that it was in good condition. We believe that it may be. One thing that helped us reach our conclusion is that the bands of crimson and navy are very bright, and this suggests the rug may not have been spent a great deal of time under foot traffic for the 60 or 70 years that it's been around. Let me show you those bands too. And they say the fabric is probably wool, but we don't see any signs of moth damage. That too is a good sign. Graphically, the oval rug is very interesting with the flower garden, blah, 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 gold cream crimson, blah, blah, blah. There's not a great deal of information about the Priscilla Turner Rug Guild, but we do know that it initially was located in Turner, Maine. Harvey DeFrost, Muriel Morel, Merle Morel, Dr. William Weber, and Major George Weber owned a grist mill on the Nazascot River in Turner Village. This is October 1922. They began preparing the building to become a rug factory. This really isn't that long ago, right? It's 100 years. It's not like it's 400 years. Initially, the company was called DeFrost Products Company, but then it became DeFrost Association, which is super confusing because it gives you no clue that we're talking about rugs. And finally, it became Priscilla Turner Rug Company. Who Priscilla Turner might have been, we have no idea, but she does sound like someone who just stepped off the Mayflower with a rug hook in her hand. Now, isn't that funny? And isn't that a great point? She probably was nobody, like Betty Crocker. Somebody that a bunch of men sitting in a room made up the name because it sounded like a good name of a person who would have a lot of domestic knowledge, right? Priscilla Turner. Anyway, the company went out of business about 12 years later, and there are vague references to it through the 1940s, starting up in different places in Maine. It goes on along in that vein, but I thought that that was an interesting article to kind of move into the future with. So they've done a lot of research on wickedlocal.com. I was able to find, there is a website called mainmemory.net, and on it, there is a page that belongs to the Turner Museum and Historical Society. Now, they don't have anything about these Priscilla Turner rugs, but they do have this beautiful picture of the factory as it was in 1922. Now, isn't that gorgeous? So I went a little bit further with this, and I will start Cheticamp too. I won't let you down. I'm going to go to 12:30. I found this article a little bit later. So this is October 27th, 2015. So this is after both of those articles, the Rug Cooking Magazine too. Treasures. Repair may not be worth it for a family rug. That's the title of this article. This comes out of Tribune News Service by Helene Fendelman and Joe Rossman. So basically, somebody wrote a question to Helene and Joe asking about, this rug has been in my family for many years, is in need of good quality repair. There's a label on the back that says Priscilla Turner Rug Guild in Maine. According to the tag, the rug is, again, 8 foot by 12 foot, so this must be a standard size for Priscilla rugs. These are yarn rugs. These are yarn rugs. I meant to say that. It's very clear. These are not wool strip rugs. These are all yarn rugs. The carpet is in generally good condition, except where the furniture has worn away the wool. Where might I have this rug repaired? Now get ready to get a little bit angry here. The people who answered this question, in my mind, are not super helpful. I'm just going to preface by saying that. Be diplomatic. This is a response. Dear SW, it is unfortunate that rugs used in high traffic areas are rather easily damaged over long periods of time. I don't know if I'd say rather easily damaged. I mean, it takes a lot to wear a hole through a rug. It is even more unfortunate that repairing rugs can be very expensive and finding a competent person to do the job can be very difficult. We get lots of mail about the Priscilla Turner Rug Guild, which endeavored to make hand-hooked rugs in the style of rag hooked rugs made in New England in centuries past. Now that's bad information, right? Because before the Priscilla Rug Guild, rugs were only made for less than 100 years before that with a hook. So that's not good information right there. There's not much solid information out there about this enterprise, but we know it was initially located in the village of Turner, Maine. So then they basically go on with this article, which is long, to give all of the information that was just in the article I read you. All of it. The same names of the same people, all the same kind of thing. They added, also of some interest, is a notation we found that the gift of some hooked rugs were given to the McGowan Teachers Workshop. I'm sure that that's true. And they also give a note that this person should get in touch. Hey, Tad, with the, oh, hey, Shelley. Get in touch with the Rug Hooking Museum of North America, which is in Canada. And I went to that site too, and it did say that in their main room where they show rugs at the Rug Hooking Museum, that they have rugs by this one, and Priscilla Turner Rugs was one of the names in there. It was at the end. It didn't say how many were Priscilla Turner rugs. But this article is saying that old rugs should be sold for between $750 and $1,000, these Priscilla Turner rugs. And I would say there is nothing else out there on Priscilla Turner. If you know anything, contact Judy Taylor at Little House Rugs or write me. We've got to know. We have collectively got to know what is going on with these Priscilla Turner rugs, because there's a lot of them out there. I wouldn't say that they're worth $750 to $1,000 anything based on auction results. There's a lot that have gone to auction recently. There was one beautiful one that was the same size, 8 by 12 feet. And, you know, it was like the starting price was $500 and the lot was passed. So nobody bid $500 on it. And it was glorious. Most of the ones that I'm seeing, Priscilla rugs, that have sold on Etsy, if you Google it, you'll see past sales, are about $200 to $300. So I'm not saying that they're not worth more. I'm just saying I think what's holding them back is the complete and utter lack of information about a rug hooking company that existed only 100 years ago, who people must have family members that worked at this rug hooking factory during the Great Depression in Maine. If you know anything, speak up, because this is an unfinished chapter and it would be wonderful to be able to build on it. So let's move a little bit further north for a few minutes and start our segment on Cheticamp. Now I'm using for my base this wonderful book. It's in your description. So if you, it's in the last description. So give me a minute, because I had to restart our video. Give me a minute, and after I close this video, I will put the information from the last video into it. I gave you a beautiful link to a site in Canada that has to do with Acadian folklore, folk art, life. It's beautiful. Music, all things. So be looking for that link, and also be looking for the link to this fantastic, hey Heather, for this, putting the call on local Facebook. Okay, that's a great, Heather just made a great point. Heather says she suggests putting a call on local Facebook pages, because you don't have to just sell stuff there, do you? And just particularly around Maine, and saying, and I'll do it too, I'll post in some of the Facebook groups up there. Who knows somebody who lived near Turner, Maine? Look at, this is the picture of what the factory looked like. Turner, Maine is a tiny population. Who had relatives who worked there in the 1920s and 30s, even up to the 40s, right? And if they did relocate indeed, which there's kind of proof that they did, or enough references to assume that they did. Good idea. Good way to solve mysteries. If we can solve mysteries like this together, put on our deerstalker hats and solve mysteries like this together, we will make great progress as a community, finding things out and documenting our history, which is super, super, super important to nail it down as a proper art form. The first, if not the first, the most uniquely North American art form. We have to nail down the corners of our picnic blanket so that we are more legitimate than we've been viewed, I think, up to now. So research time. Now, this is the book that I'm using as my guide getting into the region of Cheticamp. Yeah. The phrase, the Trois Pignons, comes up quite a few times in this book. The History of Cheticamp, Hooked Rugs and Their Artisans, edited by Father Anselme Chiasson. I'm going to have a link to this. I'm going to have an Amazon affiliate link to this. The book is only like $11 on Prime. So I'm going to put that in the bottom of our thing. I lost that when I changed threads. I've only started this book. This is not a picture book. This is a history book. This is about the region of Cheticamp, Canada, and this will cross over it won't cross over directly, but remember our early episodes about Grenfell rugs and Labrador. This is where we're getting into with the same kind of community starting point, fishing village starting point. Cheticamp is unique and different, and I hope that tomorrow I can be at my studio space rather than at home, sitting at a Cheticamp style frame. It's not an official, but it's a style frame. Oh, great, Crystal, your grandmother did the research for this book. Crystal, I think I knew that and forgot. That's amazing. This is an amazing book. I mean, it really is. So far, it's a history book. Again, it's not a picture book. So it's not going to be one that you go through when you're looking for pictures. There's beautiful pictures at the end, but it's a history book. And I feel like this is what we love the most on this channel, is talking about rug hooking history. Talk about nailing down the corners. This is super, super academic, well-researched, and thorough book. So let's just start looking at it together and talking about some of the main sort of themes. I want to start with what is Cheticamp, because we hear this word a lot. We hear it as rug hookers most commonly when we're talking about a style of frame that is like a table frame. It's a large frame. It can be quite large. I think, Kira, you found one, right, that was like 8 foot this weekend locally. But mine isn't. Mine is maybe 4 or 5, and it has like a gear, so everything locks in place. It's not just like a quilt frame. It looks different, and I hope to show you mine tomorrow. But it's a frame that you would sit up on, a Cheticamp frame. We're going to come to that. But Cheticamp is a place. So for those of you that don't know that, I want to start at the beginning and say the village of Cheticamp is located on the west coast of Cape Breton in Nova Scotia. Population 3,500. With very few exceptions, all Acadians. So I'm paraphrasing through some of this because the history, I think getting in the mindset of the people who made these rugs and make these rugs, I think it's important to get into their mindset by knowing their history. I branched off a little bit this morning looking some stuff up myself. So the place was visited by the European, Basque, and other fishermen long before Jacques Cartier discovered Canada. These fishermen used to dry their cod on the shore of La Pointe, the Point. However, there was no permanent settlement there before the end of the 18th century, so the 1700s. It is also at La Pointe de l'Île that the Cheticamp merchant from Jersey Island called Charles Robin set up a fishing post. And him setting up that fishing post is what attracted a permanent community. Like people came and settled and meant to live there and work it. The first Acadians settled in Cheticamp in 1782. So this is the timeline that we're looking at. They cultivated plots of land so that their needs could be met in terms of having fish, having meat, having greens, having food, sustaining life. So they set up sort of the minimum of that in the early days. Above all, they were fishermen, and they hoped to provide for themselves from Robin's store. This sounds a bit like what we would call a company store. The items which they could not fabricate, or the food where they would get so at the Robin's store, those are the things that they would get that they couldn't make or grow themselves, right? So it's sounding a lot like a kind of company store. It's a community project here, so everybody's focused around this immediate community with a very small population and this Robin's store, Robin. So it was only until the advent of the cooperative movement and in the 1930s. Now, this does cross over with the Grenfell episode I did months ago, where people came in and from other places typically and tried to boost the economy of these remote places by coming up with cottage industries that they could pursue and be naturally good at, use their natural talents to pursue. Also the climate and their sort of cycle of seasons and what they did at different times of the year, capitalize on all these different aspects and find something that they could do or make to sell somewhere else to boost the economy in a huge way. So this is what they did with Grenfell and Grenfell rugs, and this is what we're getting into in Cheticamp as well. So, the point was in these remote areas that were fishing communities, fishing wasn't always great, and it wasn't always year-round, and people struggled a lot. And it was important to establish other sort of streams of income to survive, like to just survive, not to thrive, but to just survive. So Cheticamp itself is renowned for the magnificence of its landscapes. I've got to go. Come on, 2021. The old melodious language of its inhabitants, and for the rich folkloric heritage. Again, give me a minute after this because I had a beautiful link to the sort of folklore of the region, and it had clips and videos. There's a lot of music and a famous songbook associated with this region. all of this information is in this great link. So look out for that link about 10 minutes after we close. Now, the book starts out talking about a subject that we never talk about enough, the earliest types of rugs and what they looked like. So this is where I want to go with this for the next few minutes, and then I'll end the stream. Cheticamp Not a Frame is a group of Facebook. Oh, okay. I'm missing this. Is she credited with a Cheticamp? I have to read back on that. Cheticamp Not the Frame. Okay. Yep. So they're talking about the earliest, at the beginning, they're talking about the earliest kinds of rugs that make an appearance. And you know we've talked about this a lot on our episodes too. And what's so curious that you will find in this book that unlike some of the books I have that are written about early American, not Canadian, but American rugs, we have some different names and different styles of earlier rugs, sewn rugs, yarn rugs, chenille rugs, rugs made with needles and not hooks that are a little bit different than the Canadian rugs from the same period. Now that is interesting. That is interesting. So the earliest kinds of rugs they're saying are called help me with this one, défaiseur from défaire. So défaire, help me if you're a better French speaker than I am, is like to undo, like to unmake, to untie, to something, right? To sort of disassemble. So that's what the root of these rugs are called. These are sewn rugs. First, these rugs are sewn rugs. And this is the oldest form of rug known to Cheticamp. And I think that they're probably called this because they're using old mittens, old sweaters, old socks, really beat up stuff to rip into strips and sew in close rows onto a jute sort of canvas or backing. So this is a real rag rug made out of necessity. And again, we're talking about a sewn rug done with a needle. Okay, good. Thank you, Crystal, to undo. So they were sewn in such a way that they looked like they were frayed on one side and the fraying was visible. And there was so much of it and it was so dense. There's not any pictures of these style of rug online, or I would have brought one up to show you. There's no example online. So this is a bummer. I think we need to go to Canada to find a good example. But because of all the fraying that shows, it almost has the look of velvet, right? That's how it's described. It's very dense and plush, and with all those ends sticking up, it looks almost like a velvet texture or pile. Each frayed strip was a different color, which resulted in a beautiful, colorful rug. Now, again, a sewn rug. They sometimes did this style of rug in geometric patterns. So I'm picturing like log cabins and squares within squares, that kind of thing. These were the rugs that they would use at their bedside. And they were great dust gatherers too. As you would expect, something with a super high pile and layers, lots of edging showing. That's almost like my grandmother used to crochet mitts that had like almost like a latch hook pile, like high heavy tufting to dust. So a rug of this sort would be a fantastic dust catcher and something beautiful to have on the side of your bed, and also very consistent with the use of geometric rugs in places other than places where company would go. So that's consistent also with the U.S. And then it talks a bit, I'm going to go another 5 minutes, and then it talks a bit about braided rugs, and we definitely know what braided rugs are, but this book is so good for detail and for further information. It goes much further than the other books I've read on early rugs. Talking about braided rugs and their warmth, their nature being scrap rugs as well, but also going further and saying, you know, that braided rugs, at least in Cheticamp, were most often used outside as a kind of a welcome mat. And you would be wiping your foot on it because a braided rug is very hard wearing if you think about it. It's coiled up and then braided, sewn together, right? So it's like, it's not just that you've got a pile or some kind of a low nap going. It's a very utilitarian rug, and it makes a lot of sense to find a braided rug outside someone's doorstep to wipe their feet on. That was just an interesting thing that I hadn't heard before, that would be the placement of an early braided rug. It makes a lot of sense, but I never thought of it before, and I never saw it written down before. Interestingly, side note, this issue of Rug Hooking Magazine I just had out to talk about Priscilla Turner, they also have a beautiful article. If you have this one and you're going to get it out to look at that thing I just read, they also have in their Canadian Connections section, again, this is November, December 2012, they have a beautiful article on welcome mats, ironically, right? Because I was just thinking and reading about the braided rugs. Beautiful rugs from Canada, contemporary ones, but some of them in older designs. There's a whole article, it's like 6 pages. Again, the Canadian Connection section about welcome mats in Canada and traditional designs and new ones, and just interesting because it immediately ties into what we're talking about. So they talk about braided rugs and then the Catalonias that were done on a loom, right? So essentially, if you picture a loom, right, with strings coming down and you're going to want to weave something through it like a rag rug, they're using the same materials. They're using ripped up strips of mittens and sweaters and socks and clothing that has completely and thoroughly had it, and they're weaving those through the sort of warp and weft of the loom, right? It's probably just the one set of strings. I don't know what it's called when it's just one set, but weaving it through that way. So those are the Catalonia rugs. So again, those are not hooked rugs or sewn rugs. Those are loom rugs, but still using wool scraps. So another variation. And then it talks about rosette rugs, which I haven't heard of rosette rugs. And it says circles cut from worn fabrics were sewn next to each other on a piece of jute. So this is a variation on a sewn rug. On each of these rounds, other circles of other dimensions and varying colors are superimposed. So this sounds like a penny rug, doesn't it? But it sounds like it's something, it sounds a bit different, like it goes a bit further than a penny rug, and it's certainly not decorative. These rugs end up consisting of like rosettes, hence their name, right? And it made me think of the American counterpart, our rugs that we sometimes call, not rosette rugs, but lamb's tongue rugs. We see a lot of these and it sounds really similar. I know I've shown you this image in past coffee times. And then look at this image. This is an American one underneath it of our equivalent of a rosette rug. This is a lamb's tongue. Because I'm probably wrong, but so far I've read a lot about lamb's tongue rugs, but not rosette rugs in the U.S. So this is like our translation of that. But the curious thing about this is there's a really well articulated, beautiful petty point, needle point in the center. So, I mean, they've used something that's absolutely gorgeous and then just edged it with scraps. And then this other, I thought it's very pale, but this beautiful example, it was on the Sotheby's site of the two parrots. I think it's faded, but it also has the beautiful light grays, mint greens, pistachio, beautiful, and just it's a full-size hooked rug with just a lamb's tongue border. So the only reason I bring that up is because there are no examples of rosette rugs on the internet, but they sound very similar to lamb's tongue rugs, antique lamb's tongue rugs. Now, the next category, I'm just going to get through this one chapter, which was my hope and my intention, is, I'm sure I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Braillon rugs, Breillons. Crystal, can you help me with a definition of Braillon, like what the root is? Because I don't know that word at all. So I was having a hard time understanding why they would call it a Braillon rug. But it says Braillon rugs were made as follows. Used garments and fabrics other than wool were cut into long strips, about a half an inch in width. These Braillons, as they were called, so maybe it is the strips that are the Braillon, like maybe that's a term people use. You have one like the top one, rosette. Oh, Joan, do you? You have one like this one, like an old one? Does it have circles like a penny rug, like an old penny rug? Or does it have the lamb's tongues, like the scallops like this? Oh, hi, Monique from England. We're having a little bit of a long episode today because I did the whole episode on a thread that nobody can see, and we started again in the middle. Crazy times. But these Braillon rugs were made on burlap again, and these are the first rugs that we have a reference to in Canada that were not sewn, that used a hook. So this is it. This is where it begins. Braillon rugs. This is where we're going to end, and this is where it begins. When we first start using a hook, that's our special area of interest. So this is where it really crosses over with what we already know and have seen. So it goes on to give a great description of how to make a Braillon rug with a hook, very detailed. And it says interesting things like the early motifs of the Braillons were like sailboats, domestic animals, birds, trees. Good, Crystal. Yeah, it's probably like a scrappy scrap, but maybe it's more specific, the word. It appears that there are no such rugs left in Cheticamp. So don't be looking for a Braillon rug, because it's probably not, it's going to be like the Holy Grail, right? It's going to be like the search for Atlantis or something like that. The pattern of many other rugs consisted of, again, geometric layouts. colored stripes on canvas, simple squares, rectangles. I'm thinking of Kay Fassett, and a very popular motif, imitation brickwork. So that's very easy to see, right? Because we know even Pearl McGowan did stuff with imitation brickwork. But it's interesting. This introductory chapter is very, very thorough in description, and it's not confusing and abstract. Like you have to read it 6 times to get a feel for what they're saying. It's very easy to read. It's right there, very easy to visualize. And then it says this thing at the end of the chapter, use of rugs, and it just mentions that before Cheticamp was blessed with electricity, I love that phrase, which was in 1937, the houses were heated with wood-burning stoves. In the winter, the floors were, as you can probably imagine, horrifically cold, right? This was especially noticeable when one moved only a short distance away from the stove. Wall-to-wall carpets sold in modern-day stores had not been heard of yet. So, of course, by then, in other places, like in metropolitan areas of New England and around New York, Pennsylvania, it was very easy at this point already to get a wall-to-wall carpet, but not in Cheticamp. So it became very important for people to become sort of agile and good at putting a rag rug of any kind together. So I'll read those comments in just a second. So, however, in quite a few houses, brailons or braided rugs covered part of the floor. So it sounded like they would do a mishmash of rugs, kind of piecing it together, scatter rugs, right, just to make it work and to fight the cold. Some were rosettes, some were brailons, but they were all beautiful. And it says sometimes the most beautiful ones were set aside for special occasions. So maybe you would keep the most artistic ones and save them for when company came, or visitors from the parish, or the priest came during his yearly visit. Maybe you would save some of those rugs for those times. It also says, as a gesture to demonstrate their faith, some people donated these rugs to the church, where they would be laid out on the main altar. Isn't that gorgeous? We're just scratching the surface of this excellent book if you're just joining us. The history of Cheticamp hooked rugs and their artisans. Just getting into where is Cheticamp, what is it, how did it begin, who was there, what are the earliest rugs. So we just talked about what the earliest examples of rugs were, and we ended at the brailon, which is the first rug that we know of in that region that was accomplished by using a hook. So that is a cliffhanger for we rug hookers, right? That is a cliffhanger. So let's see. Let me catch up on these comments. This is the first time I've been here. I've made a rag rug and clip rugs. Oh, great, Monique. Keep going, right? Keep going. That's what we all do. We make all kinds of versions of different kinds of rugs with different tools, just like the people from Cheticamp did in the last century. I love hearing about the history. Good, Martha. I do too. Good. Lamb's tongues. Okay, Joan. That's good to know. Yeah, send me a picture if you can. I'd love to show a picture of your rug. I love to see what people have. People have the most exquisite stuff. I think my mom's partial. She likes me more than the average person, I think. So tomorrow, let's return in much greater detail to Cheticamp. And again, later this week, I want to look at George Tremblay, who had a rug hooking business in the 20th century, middle 20th century, and I want to look at Maud Lewis, because so many of her designs are now available as rug hooking designs, and she really is, like Emily Carr, one of the great Canadian folk artists. So that movie is heartbreaking. If you have time to watch Maudie, be sure you're emotionally prepared for a movie that is emotional. And again, I didn't know that the husband was such a, pardon my French, bastard, but it was hard to take. That part is hard to take. And I wish that when I read clips on Wikipedia and stuff, that people were more forthcoming and clear about what it was really like, because everything I've read about her was that her life was so charming and sweet and quaint, and it was hard. It was hard. But we'll get into Maud Lewis later in the week, and we're going to stay in Canada this week. So join me tomorrow. I don't know what went wrong today, so I can't promise it won't happen tomorrow. But join me tomorrow, and we will return to the Cheticamp region of Canada and see what we can see and learn what we can learn. In the meantime, have a great day, everybody. Be careful in this terrible storm. And now my cursor's gone. Woohoo! And just